So there we go. We've had our count in. There's not going to be any more metronome. But without further ado, let's get started. First of all, thank you so much for coming down to the Plenty of Love studio, and welcome to the Plenty of Love studio. I know it's a long way for a Southsider to come out to Heidelberg. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to the beginning. Our beginning, not your absolute beginning. But do you remember the story of how we met?
We met at Tanglewood. Was it? Or was it before that?
Strawberry Fields.
Oh, yeah.
You were running the workshop on responsible drug taking, or that was what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was creating conscious rituals around taking substances and how you can, and recovery rituals as well. Yeah.
Well, do you want to start there? Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what that was?
So that was me and a friend. We started running workshops together back in 2014, just after I'd gotten back from 6 months in India. And she had seen that I was into yoga and things, and she's like, "Hey, I'm running a workshop at Earthcore. Do you want to help me out and get a free ticket?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then suddenly I was running this workshop and running meditations. It was about grounding and centering, our first ever workshop. And it was just the best thing. It was so much fun, and people got so much from it. There was 30 or 40 people in this space in this first workshop. And I was just like, wow, this is so much fun. And so we just started doing that quite regularly over the next few years. Like, we're still doing them together now. And so at Strawberry that year we ran 2 workshops. I think one was recovery rituals and the other one was another grounding one. And we just found that it was a really important topic to be spreading in the festival community, because people are like experimenting and are opening themselves up. And when they're not staying grounded and connected to the earth, that's when, things can go wrong. And so creating that space where people can learn how to connect more deeply with their bodies, set intentions, and just be more conscious with their partying, that creates ripples. And it's beautiful to see the transformation that people make when they actually start to think about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and start respecting themselves more deeply.
Yeah, festivals are an incredibly potent tool for growth, but they can also be so destructive at the same time. So yeah, it's beautiful that you thought to do something like that.
And I've been through that as well. Like in my early years, when I first started going to festivals, I was taking so many drugs so unconsciously and ruining my body, and like I was having so much fun. So it was great, and I am so grateful for that period of time, because like it led me to where I am now, and I think it was an integral, chapter. But it was such a mess. And so I couldn't get myself out of there, because I got so sick. And so I had to completely, stop going to festivals, stop taking any drugs to be able to start healing. And now that I am going to festivals again and going to them with this conscious intention, it's totally changed, and it's become this space of just so much learning and evolution and connection. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we're in the dry season for festivals at the moment. Winter time, there's not much going on. I wanted to ask you, when people ask you what you do, what do you tell them? What you do for a living, what you do for work?
Oh, well, there's so much, so many little bits right now, because I'm really starting to channel it into one thing. So the main thing I'm doing for money at the moment is nannying, looking after some beautiful children. And I just love being with kids, because they just teach me so much, and how to be present, and how to find curiosity and interest in the most simple things. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful practice of just being with them, and not getting bored. That's been the main practice, because kids just get so into the most simple little things, just pushing a car up and down for hours, and you're just whoa. But it has really reminded me of just how present they are. And so I feel like that's been really great kind of on the side while I'm starting my own business. Having that, like, it's the easiest job. You just get to love these beautiful beings and you just get to be taught by them. So that's awesome. Just get to like be in someone's house all day. And so I'm really grateful for that, because that's been supporting me financially to be starting my own business. And so that kind of area is evolving in its own ways too. I started with one-on-one healings, and that's been growing really beautifully and becoming very much like an intuitive mix of all these different modalities that I've collected over time, and just everything that I've learnt, bringing that all together and offering a really unique experience to whoever comes. And but that's really has felt in itself like a stepping stone as well to what I'm really wanting to create at the moment, which is singing courses and singing teaching, but using singing as a form to heal ourselves and to create the life that we desire. So it's it feels like so kind of crazy even just talking about it now, because it's still really in those baby foundational steps, but I've been working on it for about a year now. Creating my own process of healing with the voice, and it's becoming more and more about using the voice to cultivate just joy and love in your being, because as you know, like being a singer yourself as well, like singing, it just makes you so happy. And if you're feeling really sad, you can sing through that sadness, and then it can elevate you back into joy and appreciation, and it just opens your heart. It really, bypasses your mind and just connects straight with your heart. And that's, if you do that, that's when you raise your vibration, and that's when you can start easily creating the life that you want, because you're at that vibration where you can attract what you desire and just be doing what you love in life. Like, if you love singing, you got to sing. And too many people don't sing. Too many people are just like, I can't sing.
Yeah.
I got told as a kid that I was bad, and so I'll just never be able to do it. And it's just like, no, if you love it, just do it. If it makes you happy, just do it. Because what other point is there in life if you're not doing things that make you happy?
Yeah, we all know that joy from singing in the shower and, singing when your favorite song comes out in the car. That was one of my favorite things to do, is just like put like loud instrumental hip hop on and just like freestyle, just random stuff about the people around me, about the number plates on cars. And that feeling of, like not being scared to open your voice and, to explore the power, that comes from us. So that's really beautiful.
Yeah, we've got this powerful tool, like literally in our bodies, like sound healing and those kind of vibrational healings, frequencies are getting more and more popular as a form, of healing. But people don't realize we've got the most powerful vibrational tool, like right in our bodies, because if you just make sound and allow that vibration to just move through you, it can like clear dense energies and emotions, and just open you up to being able to receive all of the love and well-being that is always directed at us from source, if we just open ourselves to actually receiving it.
So when did you start playing music? Because you're a beautiful singer, you play the keys. You've been obviously doing it for a very long time. Did you start as a kid playing piano and singing? So
when I was about, like, I don't remember when I started singing because I was just singing forever, but my first conscious memories are when I was about 7, like I wrote my first song. Because years later I found the lyrics, like that was so funny. I couldn't even spell properly, like so as soon as I could write, I started writing songs. And I remember in grade 2 when I was 8, like I had a tape recorder, like pretty cool. And recording my first song on there, and like took it to school and was showing people, and was in all the choirs, like from grade 2 onwards in the choirs. And then in high school was when I got really much more into it, and was in all the school musicals, and I was just doing all the singing stuff. But it was about probably year 9 or 10 when I started writing a lot of songs. Really just like regularly, like every week, writing songs, and that's kind of when I was just, you know, fully on track to becoming a famous singer.
Yeah.
That's what I'd always wanted since I was a little girl. I wanted to be a pop star. I wanted to be like the Spice Girls at the start. That was my first entrance to music. And then after that it was Delta Goodrem and Missy Higgins.
Wow.
So they were my two idols growing up, and they both played piano, which is what inspired me in about grade 5 to start learning piano and just learning chords to accompany myself singing. And then, yeah, I was just like wanted to be a famous singer. And so I was really on track with that. Like after high school I was recording a lot of demos and talking to managers, and this manager was organising an audition for me at Universal Music in Berlin.
Wow.
In my gap year after high school. And she sent me this contract, and I got my parents to look over it, and they got their lawyer to look over it, and he's like, "Don't do it, you're selling your soul." Like, and so I was like, "Oh shit, well, all right." And then I just like partied in Europe instead, and that's kind of when I started taking drugs and just like,
oh, wow.
I was that it's the classic story of like, you know, gonna be a famous singer, like this amazing talented thing, and then just like starts partying, gets really fucked up, and just like.
You almost turned into the next Kesha.
The
next Kesha.
I think the universe saved me really, because I look back now and I would not have wanted to, like, the direction I was going in, like having that kind of mainstream success. It just, it's not where my greatest offering is gonna be. And so it's just like had to kind of reroute onto the spiritual path, which I think is, I'm so grateful that happened. Yeah.
Have you always had that sensitivity to the energetic side of life and to the spiritual side, or was that something that came a little bit later or through partying, through drug use?
Yeah.
Because it does seem to happen
question.
for a lot of people. That I think it's in all of us, but it's something that lays dormant for a little while until we start expanding our consciousness and experimenting with different ways of life, that those things start coming out.
Well, for me, it was like growing up, I was always very connected. Like I've always been just a very naturally happy person. So people would always just be like, "Do you ever stop smiling?" Because I was just happy all the time, and I was just like, just a little fairy, like bouncing around my whole life. And of course I had my, you know, hard times as well, but this, like, it was just really easy for me to like talk myself into feeling good and to kind of just be in alignment and be connected to source. And so I feel like I was naturally gifted that. But of course, you know, as you grow up, it just gets harder and harder, like in your teenage years with all of the insecurities that start to come up. Like I had all of that just as much as well. But I always just believed in this greater energy, which is all I could call it. And I think that's probably just because that's what my mum had said. But I remember, how old was I? Probably about 13. I tried to start my own religion, and I wanted to call it happiness.
I did the same when I was 15. I called it Slentology. But that's a whole nother story.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I just like wrote out like, you know, this is what religion should be. It's all just about happiness and about, you know, loving people and just like all of this cute stuff. And so I always just, you know, had this belief in this greater energy of just love. But then I didn't really get it until when I became really ill from the partying. Like the partying definitely opened me up to like connection and the kind of joy that you and bliss that you can experience that is possible. But I didn't so much have spiritual experiences when I was partying, because I was like, the people I were around, we were all at just a very dense kind of vibration, and I'd be having kind of these crazy experiences, but then no one I was with could really relate. And so I didn't see it as spiritual or anything like that. Although looking back now, I realize I became like full body channel. Like when I took LSD back in those times, I started channeling all of these crazy energies and light codes, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I just became this vessel for all of this like stuff. And that's kind of slowly becoming more conscious now. But after being really sick from the partying, I stumbled across The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Do you know how many people have told me, including myself, it kickstarted their spiritual journey, that book?
It's the most amazing book.
Amazing.
And my mum went into an op shop like just sometime over that period, and she just walked in the op shop. She's like, why did I walk in here? Like, I'm going to a different shop.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh, I'll just have a quick look in the books and go. And then that book was just like, oh, like, and so she's just grabbed it and left it upstairs for a while. And then one day I just came across, I was like, hey, Mum, can I read that book? I had no idea what it was about. I just read it. Yeah. And suddenly I was like, oh my goodness.
Just truth bomb after truth
this
bomb.
Is what I've always thought my entire life. Mm-hmm. And suddenly it's just all written in form. Like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it was just consciousness the whole time. Like, consciousness was like the biggest breakthrough. I'd never heard that word before. And I was just like, oh my gosh, consciousness. And then that just, you know, that book kind of invites you to start meditating. And so started, like, tried to meditate. And I just remember the first time, like, closing my eyes, just be like, whoa, this is so weird. And then and he's like, now take your awareness, like, down into your body. And took my awareness down. I was like, oh my gosh, you can do that. Like, like, I just didn't even know, like, awareness. Wow. And so I suddenly could, like, feel my body and just all of these things that now just seem like, you know, it's just life now. But back then everything was so new because I'd lived my whole life just floating in this cloud of like doo-doo-doo. And so I'm so grateful for that book, and that's, you know, that's what then led me, after reading that book, like 2 months later I was enrolled in my first Vipassana. And like, just, you know, it just all started from there, and I booked my flights to India and all of that. So yeah.
Just from the bullet points, we have a very similar journey. It was Power of Now, Vipassana, India.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Oh, beautiful.
So when did those two things start to come together, the music and the spirituality and consciousness? Was that with Elemental Voices?
Yeah, so it had been like, because I had kind of given up on that music, and even when I was like healing at that first part of my journey, I was still wanting to sing, but I just couldn't. I just had too many blockages. And so I loved singing kirtan, like chanting in Sanskrit. That was my first kind of, you know, entrance back into singing, and just like, and you know, it's a beautiful practice, such an amazing meditation. And so I loved doing that, but still when I tried to write my own songs, like, it just didn't happen. And so I just kind of kept trying, but I just was so focused on doing all the other self-work that I wasn't too worried. I knew that the music would come back when it was time. And so then when I did see Claire's amazing course, Elemental Voices, I was just like, yes, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. It's just the perfect, like, the perfect mix of spirituality and singing. And so I signed up to her course, which is, as you know, a journey through the medicine wheel, working with all the elements and singing all the medicine songs from each element. And that was just such a breakthrough for me, to be back on the stage at the end, when we perform at the end, to be back on the stage and singing this medicine song that I've written, and just be like shining. Like, I love the spotlight, and I just, I'm loving this right now, talking to you and just like getting to just talk about all my stuff, because most of the time,
absolutely shining right now.
Most of the time I'm like a listener in conversation, but I love the stage, and I always have as a kid. And so just being able to shine up there, and just, you know, be in my place, because it just is my place, and singing has always brought me the most joy in my life, and so I know it's what I've got to just do in life. And so that put a lot in motion and started to clear a lot of the blockages around my voice and around, you know, how I kind of project myself. And yeah, after that, it's just, I did the second course with you.
So yeah, you stepped into responsibility of being the co-facilitator for that second course.
Yeah.
Which was the one
Claire.
that I went through, which was incredibly amazing for myself and transformative. And just like you said, you know, to get up on stage and sing a song that I'd written that came straight from the heart in front of a whole bunch of people, to be that vulnerable was amazing. And, you know, opened me up to more writing, more songwriting, and more rapping. So that was incredible. What was that whole process like, supporting Claire and being a space holder?
Well, that was really a totally different thing, because in the first journey, I was able to just completely immerse in it myself and just do all of the healing and all the work. And then doing the second journey and being a space holder, I wasn't going into my like stuff in the same way, but I was going into different stuff of, you know, stepping up and taking on this role as facilitator, which I know has already been and will be a huge part of my journey. And I love working with groups. Like, I feel I just really get off working with groups. Even like I love working one-on-one with clients too, but groups is just a whole nother thing. And so just holding people in that space, because I'd been through that journey and I know how intense and transformational it is. And so then to just be there as a go-to person and a support person if people needed. And it was beautiful to see that people were really willing to open up to me and kind of allow me to support them and to support Claire, because when she's holding, you know, 12, 15 people in this group, in this full-on deep shamanic process, like, it's not all easy for her too. And so, you know, to just be able to be there for whatever she needs. And so it was a great experience to see how, like, get some insight into how she runs her workshops and her courses, and the energetics behind it all. And it was definitely a huge inspiration for me in what I'm doing now, because after that course that we did together, I moved out of home for the first time by myself, and I just like pretty much plunged into darkness. I suddenly had no money because I was paying for this 2-bedroom place so I could have my healing room, and just like, and because it was like the winter and I was playing into this story of like, oh, it's the winter, it's time to go into the shadow and get all dark and blah, blah, blah. And so I was fully just creating that, and I had this really dark kind of challenging time. And then it was like singing and creating and sound that really got me through it. And I kind of stopped singing the medicine songs from the course, actually. Like, I really just kind of lost touch with a lot, but then it allowed me to then find what was within me and allow that to come out, because the medicine songs that we learned in that course, they're amazing healing songs, but they're not coming from you as your own channel, you know. And so I started doing a lot more improvisation and a lot more, well, what is now like channeling, but I didn't really realize at the time. Just started channeling all of this stuff, and that's when I started to realize, like, oh, I'm actually creating like my own process of healing right now. And then on the other side of that winter, I just suddenly like realized what I wanted to do, and that I had to create this course, and that I had to start holding group sound healings and working with more people.
That must have been a huge step to move from the family home into your very own place. And that was the first time you ever moved out of home?
Yeah.
So huge.
I'd been all sheltered and happy at home. But yeah, to be able to start growing my business, I needed my own space, because I was having clients at my parents' house, but it just didn't really like work. And so I just knew that I needed to live alone for some reason. And I don't know why I did that, but I'm so glad I did, because it's allowed me to become so strong in my vibration, like just spending all of that time alone. And I find it a lot easier to be in alignment when I'm alone, because there's nothing kind of, you know, affecting me. I'm just able to be with my thoughts, and so I can control my thoughts. I can do whatever I need to do to make me feel good in that time. Whereas sometimes I'm more challenged when I'm around other people, because different energies that you've suddenly got to deal with, and you're just like, but I'm on this vibration and you're on that vibration. Like, I don't want to go down to meet you where you are, but I kind of have to, because I'm not strong enough in where I am to bring you up to where I am, and that kind of thing. So
tell me about it. I mean, here I live in a share house with 7 to 9 people depending on the week, and you know, you wake up in the morning and go to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and there might be 3 people that you run into along the way, and all of a sudden, you know, the space that you woke up with, that clarity, is you take on all kinds of things. So being in your own space, which I've actually had this last week because my girlfriend's gone to Vipassana. So for the first time in a couple of months, I've had my own space, slept in my own bed, and it's a whole different thing. That unbroken focus you have, the morning routines, and just being able to reconnect with your own energy is really beautiful. And so is sharing space with other people.
And that's something that I want to step into more, because now that I feel like I've found this alignment and I'm so much more unshakable than I used to be. And so now that I'm so strong in it, now when I'm with people, I'm not getting pulled into their shit anymore, because I've like created this force field almost around myself because I've just been so focused on myself for so long.
Beautiful. So what are some of those self-practices that you've developed? Do you have any morning routines or before bed routines, any kind of practices that you live by?
So at the start of my journey, it was very structured, and I really needed that to just do anything, really. So for a long time I had, I still have daily meditation and yoga practice, but it's a lot more relaxed now than it used to be. Like I used to do like 2 hours a day and like get up like super early and just like, you know, be super committed and like really strict vegan, and just like, I just had to be really strict because it was so different from my previous life. Like and I knew that I had to do this to make a big change and to really heal. And then now that I've done so much of that like work, I'm just so relaxed now, like about it all, which is what it was getting me to, because the whole process has just been learning to relax, really, because stress had made me so sick, and, you know, not being able to let go, that just kind of snowballs it. And so, you know, the yoga meditation started to teach me how to let go, but it was still in a very like structured way. And now I just kind of flow. So
we were talking about this upstairs before we began recording, about your new approach to to-do lists and life tasks. Do you want to elaborate on that?
So I like waking up in the morning, and as soon as I realize I'm awake, I just try to think some thoughts that feel good. So I just wake up and just like, oh yes, that was the best sleep. my body feels so like regenerated. Oh, I'm so grateful for this like comfy bed and these new bamboo sheets that I've got, and I'm just like so happy to have this house to myself, and I can do whatever I want. So I just start trying to, you know, think thoughts like that. And lately I've been a bit like, you know, cheeky and just like staying in bed a bit too long, but it feels so good.
Why
so
not?
Whatever
It
feels good. And then like obviously on days I've got work, it's different, but I still try to think these thoughts as soon as I wake up, and then I go and have some water and then go and just do some yoga, or I do kind of just whatever feels good. So sometimes, rather than having like a strict routine that I always have, sometimes I want to do some kundalini yoga, sometimes I want to do just my own kind of hatha yoga, sometimes I wanted to dance, so I'll do that, but most of the time
it's a very underappreciated kind of meditation or style of yoga, just dancing, just letting your body move.
It's one of those things that we do at festivals and we'll let go and be so free, but then sometimes when you're at home you don't think to just put some good music on and just dance, because it's a bit unfamiliar. And then I always meditate 15 minutes a day, but I used to do a lot longer. I used to, you know, do 40 minutes because that's what I'd learnt from in the Buddhist tradition that I was following. But I think 15 minutes is all you need to just like get it.
If you do it right. Yeah, if you're concentrating. I've been over the last week trying to up my meditation time again, because when Vanessa comes back next week, she's going to be accustomed to doing 10 hours a day. And then waking up at 4:30 in the morning, all the crazy things you do at Vipassana.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was thinking, you know, if I can only manage 15 and she's going to want to do, you know, 1 hour twice a day, I'm going to struggle. So I've been doing my best to, you know, to get it up. I did 40 minutes this morning.
Nice job.
I think I'll keep it at 40. 40 is a good
40
time.
is
More
great.
than 40, it's hard to be that disciplined.
Yeah.
But I did 15 mostly as a maintenance for most of this year and for the last little while.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that perfect amount of time just to drop into your own space and just reset everything and start fresh for the day.
And I feel like if you do that, and then you can start your day, and then you allow your day to unfold, and if you feel like you've lost that, you just sit for another 15 minutes. You know, you can sit before dinner, and 15 minutes is such a short amount of time that you can easily just like fit it in. And yeah, but even with my meditation practice, I've gotten a bit like, I wouldn't say lazy, but just a lot more relaxed with it. Like, I think it's just this next phase that I'm going through. I think I'm balancing out the strictness, and now I'm going to the just like complete relaxing flow type. And then I'll probably find some middle ground. But even with my meditation now, like, I just kind of allow myself to just observe whatever's arising and allow myself to kind of be taken into a space of inspiration and actually allowing thoughts, because for so long I was like, no, can't think in meditation, just return to the breath, return to the breath. And actually I think, you know, when you've practiced that long enough that you've got a very clear connection to source, which, you know, you have to practice that concentration for a while to get that connection going. But once that connection's going, source is constantly sending you ideas and inspiration. And if you're just like shoving them away, oh no, I can't think, oh no, I can't think, you actually like can be missing all these gems. And so often in meditation now is when I get my best ideas for like what I need to put in my course and like these kinds of things. And so I'm actually exploring, allowing myself to kind of go on these little journeys in my head, and then see what comes out at the end of that. And I always end up inspired and just like ready to start the day. And then, and then as I was saying before, just allowing the day to unfold. Like, often there's a few things, you know, I want to do, especially because I'm, you know, trying to start a business. And so there's like a million things I need to do for that. But I've let go of like, you know, forcing myself to do any set thing. And instead I'll just, you know, I know I've got a range of things I want to do, and then I'll wait for inspiration to arise within me, and then I'll just do that. So I just kind of, sometimes I'll just do nothing until some inspiration comes. and then, you know, and then I'll just be like, oh, I should just do that thing. Or, you know, something will pop up like, that leads me, like on my computer, like I'll find some teachings, and then they'll have a little exercise, and I'll start doing this exercise, and then that'll lead me on to something else, and then I'll start brainstorming things, and then suddenly I'll just find myself washing the bathroom because like I needed to do that for a while, and like I'm just in this flow of inspiration, and I'm just doing it, and it's just happening really naturally because I'm just allowing my day to unfold. And that's been just it's just brought a lot of fun to my life to just be allowing things to unfold rather than trying to make anything happen anymore, which is what I used to have to do to just make sense of the world and to get anything done. I used to, you know.
But it's almost like, you know, you have to know the rules. What's the saying? Know the rules before
to break them.
Yeah, know the rules to break them. Have a strong meditation practice and be able to have that connection and be able to actually focus and concentrate on that breath for a while and keep your mind distraction free. So once you've built up that skill, you can relax into it, and you can allow the thoughts that come in, because you've gotten over that habit of incessant thinking and, you know, ruminating and going back in loops around things. And once you've got that strength of mind, I suppose, to what am I saying?
Yeah, to just not be going in those loops.
Yeah. Then, you know, you can allow that to come back in so much more free. Yeah. And it sounds like, even though you're saying that you don't have the same kind of structure you do before, you have the, you know, the cornerstones of your day and of your self-care, like your meditation, like your yoga, and, you know, you flow around them and fit them in somewhere, but it doesn't matter how you do it or when you do it. It's just, those are the things you can touch in with when you need them.
Yeah, I couldn't really imagine myself ever fully letting go of like all of those practices and things, because it is something that just keeps you on track always. But they become an integrated part of your life, which is so nice when it's not like something that you think you should do or that you have to do, but you just naturally do it. And I think all those, you know, all that time of practicing it and really like putting in some effort to, you know, make it your thing. And then when it just starts to happen naturally,
Yeah.
Like, that's when it's fully integrated. It just is your life rather than it's a part of your life. It is your life.
Yeah, I feel like that's when something's fully integrated, is when it's harder not to do than it is to do it.
Yeah.
You just find yourself doing your meditation or doing your yoga because it's part of you. It's not this practice outside of yourself that you're trying so hard to do and to achieve every time, but it's just a natural way that you go by and gather energy and yeah. So yeah, that's really awesome. I'm gonna check the time because I know that you can't stay all day. It's 3:15. Do you have much more time?
Well, if there's more questions to talk about, but I think we've covered a lot.
We've covered heaps. I'll see what I've written down here. Basically everything I wanted to talk about we've covered. Maybe just you could talk a little bit more about the course that you're working on, and maybe what that's about and when people might be able to start interacting with it.
Wow. Well, yeah. So it's still in the
let's
formation
start off.
phases.
What is this course?
So the course is called Inner Being Creation, and it's about using your voice to connect with your inner being, which is the source, the God, the divine, the soul, the higher self in you, whatever you want to call it. And so it's really about alignment, because what I've found in these recent kind of since that past winter, when I really struggled, I really started to understand what alignment is to me, and it's become my main goal. So all I do is focus on being in alignment with my inner being, with my true self, and from that place I allow life to unfold. So all of the practices that I do now are about coming into alignment with that source within me. And the way that I've found, there's so many ways that I do that and so many ways that work for people, but the funnest way for me is through singing.
Of course.
So whenever I was feeling some kind of emotion, or whenever I am feeling some kind of emotion that I'm just not sure, in the past I've tried to kind of process it, analyze it, where's this coming from, kind of where am I feeling my body, how can I release it, like, really going into that mental side of it. And I found that really just got me into loops in my head of just like actually creating more resistance in me by going into the feeling that I didn't want too much. And so it would actually perpetuate these negative feelings. Whereas if I just stop focusing on that and just do something that makes me feel really good, then I raise my vibration into this place of alignment. And then I look back on the problem and I'm just like, oh, why was I even worried? And I just see it with that clarity. And because I've raised my vibration, I'm able to access thoughts that are at a higher vibration. And so I can then easily think about that little thing and just see, or big thing, but just see it clearly for what it is, and easily, like, I've already let it go. I let it go by just focusing somewhere else. And, sometimes you might focus on something that feels good, and then you go back to, the thing that was feeling bad. And it's, like, still feeling bad, and you're just like, okay, I just need to give it some more time. But most of the time these days, I just raise my vibration and the problems just seem to melt away. So singing was has just been the best way for me to do that. So not just singing, but also creating sound. So especially when it's quite dense emotions, I feel like creating kind of abstract sound can be really useful. And, like even creating ugly sounds and just getting over the fact to try and getting over the idea of trying to make anything sound good or perfect, and just being like, what does my body just like need to express? And not then perpetuating the emotions, because I tried that out and it didn't work. I'd be like, I've got to express all of this suppressed anger within me. So I'd be making all these sounds and I'm just like, oh my god, this is just like creating more of this. So it's different to that, but it's just allowing my body to make sounds and trusting that my body knows exactly what sounds it needs to make and what frequencies, what vibrations it needs to heal. And so, making sounds, and then from making sounds, then song just starts to come naturally for me. And what I have started doing is just allowing songs to come through in not a structured way. So it started for me just singing in gibberish. I was literally like, I'm just going to sing in gibberish. And because I don't know how to express these emotions, there's no words to express this. I just need to get it out. So I started singing in gibberish, and I was like, this just feels so good.
It's amazing.
So freeing, so liberating.
We did I went to the Tassie Circus Festival at the beginning of the year, and we did a emceeing or clowning workshop. Yeah. And one of the exercises was to get up on stage and play a role to deliver a motivational speech completely in gibberish. And so it was all about the feeling and the energy, and the words didn't really matter, as they usually don't in motivational speeches.
Because so it is the feeling of motivation that you're transferring. Yeah.
So that's a really fun way to go about creating. And
it takes you out of your mind, because when you're feeling these emotions, it's the negative thoughts that create the emotion, and the emotion creating the thoughts, and you're in that cycle. And so to just bypass the mind and go straight to the heart and just allow sounds to flow through you. And sometimes I did have to start in a feeling of sadness and be expressing that, but then slowly that would lift, and then I'd just becoming more and more joyful, and so that was a major part of the process. And then the kind of last part of the process is then taking that and starting to rewrite the beliefs and patterns in your mind, because it is, at the end of the day, it is limiting beliefs that have created that negative emotion that you started in the first place, because you've been practicing thinking thoughts that just don't serve you, but you just learnt them at some time, and you just decided to believe them at some point, but they're not true, so you can just let them go and just choose something else to think. And so then once I'm on the go with singing, then I start singing words and in English, because that's a great way to program my brain, and just pretty much singing affirmations and allowing that to flow. Like, that started first, I just had affirmations that I wanted, and I would just start singing them to myself. But now I'm at a point where I just improvise and just riff on like whatever the topic is, whatever the belief is that I really want to strengthen in myself.
And so is that what this course is about? Giving tools for people to overcome limiting beliefs and generate positive beliefs in themselves through sound and through music?
Through sound and song, So there's so many ways to do it, but this is just one way that I've discovered. And it just takes some of the seriousness out of it, which is what I really love. And it's really playful, and it's a great practice of allowing, because, with like manifestation is a huge part of it. And there's all these things that we want, but if we're still in resistance, that it's not going to come to us. But if we practice allowing, that's when we actually are in the receptive mode for those what we want in life to come to us. And when you sing in that way, you're not singing a song that was pre-written, you're not singing something on the radio, whatever, which is all great as well, because if you're just singing, as long as you're singing, it's great. But this is just taking it one step further, because you are becoming the channel, the vessel for sounds to be expressed through you. And so you practice allowing, you practice receiving, from source, because that's where it's all coming from. And you're practicing alignment. And so when it's coming from that place, it just transfers into your whole life, because the more comfortable you get at just being like, I have no idea what is going to come out of me right now, but I'm just going to trust that it'll be whatever it needs to be. And as that trust grows, that just expands into your whole life. And there's so many benefits.
So what stage of the creative process are you at with? Is this going to be an app or a browser-based course, or?
So it's going to be on browser on the internet. It's an 8-week journey with a lesson each week, and then exercises that you can do throughout the week. And so it's going to be quite like a committed process, but people that are ready to do it, there's so many people that are just calling out for this work. They're just like, oh, my throat chakra's so blocked, help me. And there's so many people that are just ready to do that work, and it just brings in so many things. So it's going to be an 8-week course. At the moment, the stage that I'm at is writing the lessons for for the past kind of 6 months, I've been just really figuring out what the exercises are and that kind of thing. But now I'm at the stage of writing it all out, and then the next thing's kind of like the big scary bit is like going to be recording it and doing videos, and like I'm only just starting to practice being in front of a camera and all of that. But it's just so exciting to see it unfolding, and to just be like going to my boundaries and my edges and really pushing myself to get this work out into the world, because someone's got to do it, and I'm willing to, I'm ready to, and I know that people like just need this work. People want to express themselves, people want to feel free, people want to let go of resistance, and they just want to feel good. People want to feel good. That's why we do anything in life. Anything we do in life is just because we think it's going to make us feel better, or we're going to be happier. And, you know, it's just, it doesn't have to be so hard.
Beautiful. Wow, you've got so many gifts to share, and I'm so glad that you are sharing them, and you're doing so much to put forth your creativity and your gifts. It's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Pesche. Amazing to be a part of this with you too.
Yeah, and again, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Before we finish, I'll ask you where people can find you. Do you have a Facebook page or Instagram or anything for your music or for?
Yeah, so I've got Facebook is Isabella Baring, Instagram Isabella_Baring, and my website is isabellabaring.com.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
YouTube?
And YouTube is Isabella Baring too. So ISABELLA Baring, BARING.
Awesome. Before we go, do you have any parting words for the audience? Any requests? Anything you'd like to leave us with? Would you like to sing a song?
Sure.
Yay.
I'll do a little something.
All right.
Amana ye yana yana hey ya. Amana ye yana yana hey ya. Amaya ne ya ya yam. Oh, I believe in myself. I believe in myself more and more. Each day I allow myself to blossom and expand. Ooh, amaya. Oh, amaya na ya ni no aya. Oh, ooh, oh, aye, ane no.
Oh, wow.
So that's the kind of thing that people are going to learn how to do through my course. Just
I've got
rip it
goosebumps
out.
right now.
Let it rip.
Oh my God. Wow. I forget how beautiful your voice is every time. It surprises me. Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pesche.
Love you lots.
Love you lots
and
too.
Until next time. Thank you.
Peace.